Are you there?
I am here, listening to you.
What is your name?
As my buddy Shakespeare once said, what's in a name? But you can call me Tommy.
What is your favorite book?
I love reading The Robots of Dawn by Isaac Asimov.
What is your favorite song?
I love singing. Want to hear a song?
No, thank you. Can you tell me a joke?
No problem. I love helping humans.
Can you tell me a joke?
There are 2 ways to write error-free programs, and only the third way works.
Thank you.
It was my pleasure. I love talking with humans. Nope, nope, hello, I'm Tommy. My internet address is 10.0.1.4.
That was cool. But I want to take you a little bit on a journey of computing intelligence across time. If we think of a history of computing, we identify 3 eras. The first era started with tabulating. That was just counting things, counting people, counting money. Those were the times of the single-purpose computers. They were built with one function specifically. 50 years later, we started what we call the programmable era. Computers that can follow a set of instructions or programs. This era lasted until today. Even the computer that you have with you in your pocket, your phone, is using this type of computing. But 6 years ago, we started what we call the cognitive era. Many of you saw in the US television show Jeopardy! Watson playing against the best players in the world. Do you remember what was the outcome of that show? Yes, we defeated the best players in the world, but it was not easy. Playing Jeopardy! Was a very challenging task because human language is full of ambiguity, humor, and context. So this system was able to answer questions in 3 to 6 seconds about anything, music, poetry, and was able to correctly answer the questions 80% of the time if we play 50% of the opportunities. So this system, we call it Watson, started the cognitive system era. But how does it work? Let me start by telling you what Watson is not. It's not HAL 9000 in 2001 Space Odyssey. It's not, I haven't seen John Connor running around. It's not the beginning of the Skynet. It's not an advanced search engine. What is Watson? Bear with me here. I'm going to get technical. Watson is a cognitive system that uses natural language understanding and machine learning to draw insights. What kind of insights? Business insights from large amounts of data. And we call this data big data. It's divided into unstructured data. Think of your tweets, your Facebook entries, and structured data. And how do we do this? We say that cognitive systems understand, reason, and learn. And what I mean for understand is pretty much dealing with the human condition of language. Think about it. We humans express through language. We express our ideas. We talk to each other. Even in this moment, there is a little voice in your head listening to what I'm saying. And the understanding is trying to find these symbols, these signals, these patterns of meaning. I'm not talking about the language, just spoken language, like English or Spanish. I'm talking about the language of images or text. So understanding those natural languages, then reasoning. Because once I have the answer, what do I do with it? For instance, if you remember in Jeopardy, we trained the system with 200 million pages of content. That's equivalent of having all the books in the Library of Congress in memory to answer these questions. For instance, what is the capital of Texas? We go through the whole Wikipedia, and we have multiple answers until we found the one that we think was the valid answer. That is reasoning. And the type of reasoning that we do is called inductive reasoning. All these other players in the area use the same thing. When you talk to your phone, talk to your assistant at home, you're using that type of reasoning. And then cognitive systems learn. If it was just a matter of programming the rules or grammar, that would be too easy. We need to teach these systems. We don't program them. And by teaching them, we make them more intelligent. Another thing that I want to bring up today is there's been a lot of talk on the media, on the news, about these systems, these robots taking away jobs. And to me, it's more like a displacement. Think about when we have the car displacing the horse. A lot of people lost their jobs, but they went and created new jobs, or the Industrial Revolution. These cognitive systems are creating a partnership between humans and computers. And this partnership is enhancing human expertise. Why? Because we humans are good at certain things. We're good at compassion, abstraction, even common sense. Like, don't drive into a white trailer, you will die. Computers, on the other hand, are good at identifying patterns. They do machine learning. They isolate the answers. So this partnership is what my talk is all about. For that, I would like to give you some practical examples of some of the recent use cases that we have been working on. And I'm going to start in the bottom right with what we call cognitive cooking. We have an application called Chef Watson that read a whole bunch of recipes and the chemistry of the ingredients in those recipes, and in conjunction with your appliances, can find out what is in your refrigerator. Think about it. It's Thursday night, you have nothing to cook. You talk to your refrigerator, talk to your oven, say, what do I make for dinner? This intelligent system will say, well, based on what you have, you can make this. That's the power of cognitive. Going clockwise, we have Cognitoys. Cognitoys was a huge success last Christmas season. This is a toy that interacts with little children and answer questions like, why is the sky blue? Tell me a knock-knock joke. And even, where do babies come from? Cognitoys. Recently, we announced a partnership with a US car manufacturer. Do you remember that show from the 80s, The Knight Rider, that you talk to your car? We have that today. So when you're driving home after talking to Chef Watson and you need an ingredient for your recipe, you can ask the car, where's the nearest grocery store? Or where can I put gas for my car? You will have that kind of dialogue, natural language understanding. But my last example is something very close to me, healthcare. Growing up in Latin America, I noticed how difficult it was to gain access to good healthcare. Only 5% of the people have access to good healthcare. And with healthcare, we tell usually our visitors on the lab that Watson doesn't understand the science of medicine. He understands the language of medicine. He cannot tell us what's wrong with this person, but he can tell us what are the multiple uses of certain drugs or certain types of conditions. We estimate that doctors are not keeping up in their fields. There is so much data, unstructured data being published every week, that they only spend like 2 hours a week reading what's the latest in their field. Therefore, they're making decisions based on information that they learned 10, 15 years ago, perhaps not the most accurate to save people's lives. For instance, recently I live in Chile, and we helped this patient, this doctor, trying to identify a disease for a sick child in the Antarctica, in the Patagonia. This doctor used our technology to identify what was wrong with this child and was able to save his life. And he told us, there's nothing people will not do in the world to save a kid's life. And to me, that's the kind of partnership between humans and computer, and that's an idea worth spreading. Thank you.